Hey everyone, welcome back to AI Insights. I'm Fleur Prince. I'm your host for today, and I'm here together with my co-host Grainne.
Hi.
So it's so cool to have you back on the show. Yeah, you've been out for a while, right?
Yeah, I've been busy. I've been busy, but I'm excited to recap the year. It's definitely been a big year. We've done a lot of episodes, we've covered a lot of ground, and there's been crazy developments. So I'm glad we're able to
Yeah.
summarize everything here.
No, I totally agree. Like everything, like so much is 2025. Like I did not know this is where we would have ended with AI just in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's definitely kick it off. Yeah, so today on the agenda, we're going to have talk about research developments. We're going to talk about the AI arms race.
Mhm.
Also about image generation, the evolving compliance of several acts that have been put in around the world, and also some forecasts for 2026, like what are we expecting is going to happen this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's kick it off.
All right. So 2025, as we just said, it was a historic year for AI development. And something that I would kind of say is like an overarching premise that links together all of these different topics is that there's kind of conclusive societal integration. So there's all this discussion about, like,
Hmm.
is AI a bubble? Those discussions are really mounting as we enter 2026. Is AI a bubble? Is it going to collapse? Is all of this like prospecting on AI going to, like, is there real profit, etc.? There's all these different questions, but what we definitively know, as of 2025 is that we have conclusive societal integration. So the financial markets of AI is one thing, but AI's impact on society is another. Definitively, this year we have seen that there is no going back from AI being integrated in society. Like, for example, I wake up and I ask Alexa to, say something, and that's powered by AI. Or I do like a Google search. Yesterday I saw this for the first time. I was on Google Maps and I was looking for like a restaurant, and there was an AI
Hmm.
generated summary of the restaurant. So Google Maps is now AI integrated, but like consumer facing AI integrated. And all these
Hmm.
AI integrations people are starting to rely on, for example, ChatGPT in universities or university work, or, ChatGPT in sales, or, that's one example, but, just autonomous AI in sales or AI workflows or N8N workflows, etc. So anyway, it's kind of millions of things that can be encapsulated by that sentence, which is that in 2025 we had societal integration. So now we're going to delve into that under some subheadings. And our first topic is research developments that we have seen societally in 2025. Examples of that are agentic AI and neuro-symbolic AI.
Yeah, I think it's like for me, it's really weird to see also like how much research developments are actually happening. Like I remember
Yeah.
when we were talking in a few episodes that we're doing together, like neuro-symbolic. I was like, what even is that word? Like I know neuroscience, but neuro-symbolic is like feels like a whole different world for me, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? There's these developments that, are kind of like mind-blowing, but they're happening month by month. And so like an inordinate amount of resources, financial and, environmental, are being poured into this kind of development. And we're seeing a lot of different
Hmm.
outputs. For example, large enterprises and retailers, financial services, they all have integrated different research developments this year. Walmart just deployed the internal AI super agents, which
Hmm.
ingests real-time point of sale, supply chain, web traffic. So basically, Walmart is now relying on autonomous AI as like kind of an internal mechanism for their operations. And we're seeing similar things at Amazon and Target, which are using agentic AI and logistics and personalization. And then in financial services, we are seeing JP Morgan using an agentic coach tool. Wells Fargo is using a virtual assistant. McKinsey, one of the biggest consulting companies in the world, is
Hmm.
also, running different AI mechanisms and experiments. So we're seeing all this kind of acquisition and implementation of agentic AI. Neurosymbolic a little bit less, but I think that's kind of, it's not at that stage of deployment yet.
No, exactly. But this also, I mean, you see the same things with customer services as well, where they're relying more
Yeah.
on agentic AI to actually help out with the beginning of the conversation where you can just like type the conversation, and if the agent can really not answer the question, it's something that you have seen now at bol.com here in the Netherlands,
Mhm.
that only when the AI really can't answer the question, then you're connected to a human
No,
on the other end.
completely. Literally 2 days ago, I had this massive fight with, like, the AI where I was trying to flag myself into, like, a human conversation, but the AI was, like, resistant to that. It was this whole thing. But there's also kind of the other side of the coin to, like, this rapid development and societal integration where people are just putting the label of AI on anything. For example, there was a scandal with Amazon because Amazon basically they adapted this new shopping practice where you just, like, you pick up like an item and then AI like automatically detects that it was picked up and like charges it to your account. I'm not familiar with like the entire like mechanisms of the system, but essentially it's an AI shopping
I
service.
remember the scandal.
But it turns out that this AI was just a team in India and actual Indian workers that were approving and, looking at these different transactions. It wasn't AI at all. It was just genuine workers. We have like this integration of AI, but we also have, these developments where AI is kind of used as like a catch-all term,
Yeah.
but it's still humans powering it. Go on.
No, but I remember there was also this UK-based startup as well. It was called, because you mentioned India, it was called Builder.ai. I think it like got evaluated at like $1.3 billion. But then it just appeared to be like 700 engineers in India that were actually building all those AI applications. And it was not really AI that was running it. That was also the scandal that happened this year. Now that we're talking
Yeah,
about it.
no, yeah, there's been a few of those going around, and that's the thing, like, it's just what I was saying, I think that's part of why so many people are saying, it's a bubble," is
Yeah, where
because,
it's
like,
similar to the
that
internet bubble. I think
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
a lot of
exactly.
people are comparing it to now.
Yeah, because there's so much speculation and the market is really, forced forward by this speculation. But again, like that kind of bubble conversation, I would relate that to what people said about Netflix. Back in the day, people said, oh, Netflix will never take off. Like streaming will never be the future. People love physical. Like that'll never be like adapted or, preferred societally. And here we are with streaming being the ubiquitous medium. So, yeah, to show.
No, exactly. You're seeing like consumer and enterprises are completely changing because of the agentic ecosystem. I mean,
Mhm.
a few examples are Sephora, Mercedes, and Bayer that incited in 2025 like cases studies about deploying agentic like systems for personalized marketing, virtual assistants, and predictive analysis. I mean, we were looking at agents that are planning like entire campaigns, marketing campaigns even.
Yeah, and actually we're gonna discuss this later, how marketing campaigns are really getting dominated by AI, even with regards to, like, creative aspects such as,
Mhm.
like, modeling is getting taken over by AI, like, there's AI models now, etcetera, but that's kind of a conversation that we're gonna reach later in the episode. I just wanna wrap up this topic about agentic AI, neuro-symbolic AI, and their societal integrations by pointing out that there's also going to be various barriers to societal integration of these new technologies because as they are frontier technologies, there's a lot of risks. For example, Microsoft has an autonomous AI product called Magentic. And
Mhm.
over the summer, they saw a lot of I mentioned this previously on the podcast, but over the summer, they saw like a huge amount of issues with it. For example, the Magentic product, it wasn't authorized to, but it sent out like a government takedown notice or like it was like a freedom of information request. Like
Mhm.
these, the autonomous nature and the frontier kind of nature of these products mean that they're incredibly risky and that there's the opportunity that they would do something that they're not authorized to do, and something that could have, like, a negative impact, and we saw that in Microsoft's Magentic, but, there's also safeguards, there's things that are being adapted to kind of rise to meet those risks, for example, like human-in-the-loop systems. I worked on a few
Mhm.
projects this year with human-in-the-loop systems and trying to integrate, like, human oversight into autonomous AI, but then we arrive at this discussion where it's like if autonomous AI is only viable for market with human in the loop systems, then is it even really like autonomous? Because it's a human that's still approving everything, tweaking everything. Anyway, that's a conversation to have at depth, maybe in
Yeah,
another
no,
episode.
definitely.
Yeah, but now we can progress to our second topic, which is the AI arms race. So this is definitely a provocative title, but basically what we're trying to encompass is the fact that all these countries around the world, the United States, the European Union as a bloc, China, India, like as you just
Yeah,
mentioned,
Africa, Australia.
Africa as well, Australia, all these different countries are trying to have like a sliver or like a piece of like this AI puzzle and are trying to drive innovation and be leaders in the market. And we see this play out in different ways. Like there's so many different facets to this kind of dichotomy. It's not just, who has the fastest AI, but it's also the chips and the resources that the AI is reliant upon. For example, we saw like there was that it was like NVIDIA chips, like, there's all these different, like, contests
Yeah.
for. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, true.
exactly.
No, that's actually true. Yeah, Nvidia has announced that in 2026 they're going to downsize to 40%, still delivering RAM to consumers, and the
Yeah, wait,
rest
that
the
that's
rest of the 60% is going to be sold business to business to AI companies.
yeah,
Just because,
another thing. Yeah, go on.
sorry. Yeah, no, I wanted to say because this the reason why this caught my attention is because I'm a gamer, and I know a lot of other gamers who love to build their own PCs, but they're like, if
Yeah,
you now want to buy like a RAM, for your computer, it used to cost like 100, maybe like $100 to get like one of those chips, and now it's like 300, 600 euros just to get the RAM shortage. And even PlayStation is now extending building the PlayStation 6 to 2030 for release because of the RAM shortage.
the RAM shortage is so severe. That's definitely, like, a very, like, recent kind of issue. I just bought a new MacBook, and I know Mac prices are super stable, but, like, with this, like, ongoing, like, depletion and kind of, like, contest over resources, I just thought I might as well, like, upgrade now, can't hurt. Yeah, no, like, RAM prices are going up everywhere, like, so I kind of have a presence in the EU and the US, and usually anything that is, priced up or marked up in the EU, I can retrieve from the US, but now it's the case where that's just not a possibility, like, the prices are skyrocketing and there's kind of equivalency in both territories, which is, a sign of, like, how intense the situation is. But yeah, like, but these resources are linked to now national security, as AI has been integrated into a host of different, military like activities, for example, like drones that revolve around AI. No, all these like issues are things that now governments are really having to, hold in their calculus when they're making decisions and like trade decisions. Another huge thing that happened this year under this topic of kind of like geopolitical, interactions is DeepSeek. So DeepSeek
Mhm.
emerged and kind of exemplified this dynamic by demonstrating that high performance large models can emerge from outside of the traditional US big tech ecosystem. So obviously San Francisco has all this innovation. We see ever so many things come out of San Francisco, but DeepSeek kind of showed that innovation can comes from all different corners of the world, and there isn't such a strict monopoly. American big tech doesn't control all AI innovation and development. DeepSeek kind of, was able to subvert that narrative.
Mhm.
Um,
No, true, and they actually showed that other companies, it's the same as with Mistral as well. Like they got
yeah.
evaluated to, I think, like almost like $1 billion now. And
Whoa.
they're now expanding across Europe to different areas because it's all these job applications appearing on LinkedIn for people asking to work for Mistral. So I was like, oh, this looks interesting. Like, why is that? That's because yeah, they're taking off as well. So that also shows Europe is also catching up to the arms race.
Year. So I'm currently in the US. I'm taking this call like out of Washington, DC.
Mhm.
And again, like there's just so many things that I've seen come out of big tech on like kind of that California side of the US, like and developments out of DC, New York. Like I've seen like a host of different like advancements that kind of reverberate on a world scale. But I would love to like give more of a platform to Europe and just what you think should be highlighted out of Europe for the year of 2025.
I think what mostly would be highlighted is actually the Swedish company that came out. You might know it's called Lovable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's a European country.
Wow.
And Lovable is from Sweden. It was started by yeah, this group of young guys that were like, okay, we need to make this kind of stuff more accessible, and they developed vibe coding. But in a way that you just put in a prompt. You say, okay, I want an app where I can find the best coffee places in my town. It makes it maybe, I think it takes like maybe five minutes to create it, but then you have complete MVP already. Maybe you have to tweak it a bit,
Wow.
but I think we're going to talk more about this later in the episode as well, as one of the future forecasts. But like vibe coding has become more accessible now because of it. So I think that's
Yeah,
a good. I think Lovable
yeah,
is a
and
good
that
company to look out for.
yeah, and those sort of advancements, like, they do have huge impacts on the rest of society and mainly, like, business because the barrier to entry for business is decreased so much. But, speaking of, like, barrier to entry, that kind of is like a segue into our next topic, which is when image generation becomes infrastructure. So, if you're setting up a company, not only do you need to create a website, which, some people do through Lovable or like an MVP or etc., like all those hosts of technical sort of, things. You also have the other side where it's like you need to advertise. If it's maybe you need like a model to do something, maybe you need a design, or maybe you need just like an image that like really would resonate with consumers that, revolves around your product. Nowadays, you can go onto ChatGPT, Gemini, a lot of different like, models, and you can just create an image. Even like within like my like social networks, people will even like create an image, like a random image just to like make a joke, or the AI as applied to like video editing, people like video editing using AI, trends on TikTok reliant using AI generated images, or applying AI to a pre-existing image. It's really, like I said, relating to that, first one of the first things I said about how it's like conclusively integrated with society. Image generation, I think in the year of 2025, became this infrastructure where, it's a given versus, I don't know, 2020, an AI generated image, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like that was unheard of.
Yeah,
And
no,
then,
I
like
agree.
kind of in 2023, you could tell, or 2024, whatever, like, you could tell if something was AI generated. In
Yeah, I mean, we all know the
2025
six-finger concept.
yeah, yeah, exactly. In 2025, it's nearly impossible to tell, and these images are only getting better and better and better, and I think we did record an episode strictly on image generation this year because of just the impact of it, you know? Oh, the
No,
Studio
exactly,
Ghibli
and
trend.
also
Do you
of,
remember the Studio Ghibli trend?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Do
I
you remember
do.
that? Yeah, everybody was making their profile pictures that, like,
Yeah.
you
I think I
know
even have one on my Instagram about the whole
yeah.
Ghibli.
Exactly. So it's kind of just we wanted to take time under this subcategory, not even to like really analyze or bring new information, but just reflect on how
Mhm.
image generation has become sort of this infrastructure to not only, like marketing, etc., but also to, just social interactions. I was in New York literally 2 days ago. I was in New York City and I was taking the subway, and obviously, because I kind of work in the area, I'm kind of able to tell, like, what's AI generated, what's not, and I looked at this advertisement, and it was for, like, clothing or shoes, it was for something like that, and I looked at the model, and I was like, "That's an AI generated image." Like, that is AI. That is, like, an AI advertisement on the New York subway, like, they did not pay a model to do that, that is not a real person, and I think that's kind of becoming the norm, especially with, like, smaller businesses. If you think about it logistically, smaller businesses often don't even have a reason that they would want to use, a real model. A real model is a lot of money. That involves someone coming to your set, that involves, like, liabilities, this, that, the third. So, yeah, we really saw, like, the integration of image generation this year specifically.
No, exactly, and also we're talking about AI twins as well. Those also got introduced. I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
them yeah, influencers completely giving their social media over to their AI twin so they can
Really?
focus more on real life, yeah, going somewhere in real life, and then having the AI twin maybe review a product or something like that.
Wow. I mean, that
Or even for their fans to interact with that AI twin on a personal level where they just have like a personal chat with that person. But it's not them, it's their AI twin.
yeah, I mean,
And people
that's
pay
the
a
thing, right?
buckload for it.
Yeah, we're seeing like this in like insane kind of shift, but no, we're seeing this widespread integration, but at the same time, we're seeing backlash. Like, for example, I was discussing how that model was AI generated on the New
Mhm.
York subway. I mean, I suppose this isn't like a generated image, but on the New York subway, there was this campaign for, like, an AI friend or, like, AI companions, and there was
I
so much
remember the
like
pictures.
yeah, yeah, and then the graffiti on it with people saying you'd have real friends, AI is not your friend, value human connection, value humanity, etcetera, so but the
Yeah,
thing
also
is
because
that
you're
AI
still no, what I
yeah,
wanted to say as well is you're not talking to a friend, you're talking to a company. And when you put in
yeah,
all your personal info in there, you don't know where it's gonna go.
yeah,
Like, you don't know if they're going to maybe at first they might say that they respect your privacy, but they might also sell the data to data brokers, even if it's
completely.
anonymized.
Yeah, because we
It's not that hard
discussed
to, yeah, go to rebuild it and just, find it link it back to the right person. Like, your privacy
or
is on the street.
also Y yeah, also, like, cybercrime has really taken, like, so many leaps and bounds, like, for example, people can hack into different AI devices. There was a scandal this year that ChatGPT conversations were publicly available, like, available on the web, published on the web. If you share your ChatGPT conversation to another person, it is then, like, indexed on the internet and therein, like, searchable. You know what I mean? And with
Mhm.
people in positions, like and with people in positions of power or, like, having to think about really private,
Yeah.
sensitive information presents, like, a huge risk. So,
No, exactly,
yeah,
and
there's a
that's
lot of
actually on that
considerations there.
scale as well. Sorry, by the way, on that scale as well, there's also some presidents and stuff around the world that actually said that they're using AI to discuss certain plans, to see like, yeah, as a second
Really?
advisor, where it was also like, yeah, Trump is one of the people that has their own AI. If we're talking about America anyways,
Yeah.
where he talks to just to have that conversation with him. It's just like so weird.
Yeah,
Just think
that oh, speaking of Trump, do you remember I think it was either this year or it was 2024, but Donald Trump no, it was 2024, but Donald Trump shared an AI generated Taylor Swift endorsement. He was like, "Thank you, Taylor Swift." It was an AI generated
yeah,
video.
Taylor Swift did not
Um,
agree.
yeah, and then
Or,
she
do
published
you
something where
remember
it's
the
like
McDonald's, commercial as well that came out? Was it McDonald's commercial? I think it was the McDonald's commercial that was also, around AI, made with AI,
mhm.
and people were, like, bashing on it massively.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, there's resistance to it, but we're seeing, like, this overwhelming kind of turn to using AI in for marketing, for honestly every single level of business, and then also interpersonally. So it'll be really interesting to see how that evolves going into 2026. But another huge aspect of image generation and the way that it's being used in society is evolving compliance. So obviously, you know, this year we saw a lot of development and discussion about how AI should be used, especially with regard to like AI companions. Should AI companions be legal? Should it
Mhm.
be, you know, legal to AI generate to use AI to warp an image of somebody and then publish that? What are the regulations and what are the laws? So we saw a huge development regarding that this year from the EU AI Act, which is kind of like the international standard for regulation.
Mhm.
We saw different deployments. So EUAI Act is staggered deployment. So it's going to be continuously deployed until I think 2027, but don't quote me on that. But we saw a deployment in a notable one in August of 2025 this year where the rules on GPAI, general practice AI, were then enacted. And yeah, so the EU Act has moved from an abstract framework into operative law for providers. And that includes, like, for example, that August 2nd deployment, that includes the
Yeah.
requirement for detailed technical documentation, transparency around training data, which is key, copyright compliant data practices. So that relates back to that last topic of AI generation, AI image generation, and then risk management duties for models deemed to pose systemic risks. So that's crucial as a safeguard going into our future and going into 2026 to kind of ensure that this development is going to be safe.
Yeah. No, but what I really love about when the AI Act was also introduced is that people were like, okay, we made it as good as possible as it can be, but we're just going to start enacting it. But what you do see now, the past years, that people are also like in the European Commission, they're starting to make like some amendments to it because they're seeing, okay, like
Yeah.
what's really working in practice and what should be adjusted a bit so that, yeah, it's applicable because this is a field that no one's ever worked before in.
Exactly. So in that way, it's kind of like a measured or it's like a living document in that way that it's responsive to the needs of society and kind of the development of society. But, just the text itself has been I can't
Mhm.
even like it can be understated like how important it is. It is extraterrestrial application, so it applies to anyone that is, like, for example, like an American tech company. If
Mhm.
Microsoft has any sort of involvement, interference, interaction, and the internet is global, right?
Mhm.
But if Microsoft has any sort of interaction with the EU, then it must comply to the EU AI Act, and that is final. Otherwise, it will be fined billions and billions of dollars. So that kind of like strictness has, elevated it to this position of like a supreme authority that all these companies must, kind of comply with. And one of the effects of that is here in the United States, we have no federal kind of ruling on AI, and we don't really have federal standards either. But what we do have is kind of like a patchwork regulation coming up from states. So, for example, California has regulations, and Texas recently came out with TRIGA, which is predicated on the EU AI Act insofar as it has these different risk classifications and it kind of follows like a similar sort of structure and standard. So we can see that the EU AI Act is kind of inspiring these different, these different
Mhm.
standards worldwide. That TRIGA was actually implemented in May of 2025. So that's incredibly recent. So as we go into 2026, I expect that we'll see a lot more, first of all, the EUAI Act will continue to deploy and evolve, but also I think we're going to see different countries kind of produce, standards that are adjacent or ancillary to the EUI Act, as we saw in America with Texas.
Yeah. No, in that sense, what I'm really amazed about when it comes to the AI Act, but also I think with Trega, it's gonna be the same situation, is that it's a living law and it's going to keep changing and evolving with the developments of the tech sector, which is unheard of because I know when I've like discussions about the amendments in the Dutch law. So I think we have a huge document with like, okay, what are the basic rights for people in the Netherlands? And they were like, "Okay, this is how it's
Mhm.
always been. We're not gonna change it because it's too hard, it's too difficult." But actually now with the AI Act, and I think it's gonna be the same situation with trade, it actually shows that laws can be adapted to fit, the 21st century, but also have to
Yeah.
move with the sector as well.
Moving with the sector is a huge thing, and not to cut ourselves short on that compliance, but that actually relates to my principal prediction for 2026 and what I think is going to arise, what we're going to see with regards to AI development. What I think we're going to see is agentic commerce. And that's the thing, these laws have to evolve, right? And when we're
Mhm.
considering agentic commerce, that is AI agents, performing transactions and doing like the purchasing process, we're gonna see that, like, AI agents are gonna need to engage with contract law. So then that brings up this entire different discussion of law within the sector where it's like, do AI agents have the authority to enter into contracts? What are the
Mhm.
lines of liability going to be? Is it going to be tortious liability? Is there vicarious liability? Is this agentic AI, like agentic commerce, does that then impose a responsibility on the company on the board of directors? Like, there's all these different questions that are going to be raised, I think, in 2026 in different sectors as we see these advancements spread into different industries. And I think one of the most pivotal ones is agentic commerce. And we also saw this year ChatGPT is starting to roll out like buying suggestions and like purchases within ChatGPT. And we're also seeing all these different startups emerge with these solutions for agentic commerce. So
Mhm.
yeah, it'll be a big year.
No, yeah, it's the same thing as in the startup world as well. Like, we were talking earlier about Lovable. There's also similar vibe coding platforms like Base 44, where we're going to see actually, I think we're going to see in 2026 also like a huge rise in AI startups because it's so much easier now to build an MVP just by simply putting in a prompt, maybe adjusting it,
Mhm.
maybe bring in a software developer to help and at least on the back end part, and then roll it out, launch it. And actually, because of that, I think we also are going to see a lot of new millionaires and billionaires join the top 100 this year as well because of
Mhm.
these MVPs that are going to turn into huge scale ups. I think this will be a very
Yeah, and
interesting
then
year
also
because
kind of like
I want to say it's going to be
yeah, and then
the
also
year of vibe coding.
yeah, definitely. And then also kind of like the acquisition of those companies. Correct me if I'm wrong, but NVIDIA literally just merged with Grok, right?
I think they did.
I think it did. Yeah, yeah. So in late December 2025, it entered a 20 billion non-exclusive licensing agreement with Grok, the AI chip startup. So Nvidia just acquired Grok. Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see a lot of innovation, and then we're going to see a lot of different mergers and then huge business transactions because again, that barrier to entry has collapsed, but also these big companies are trying to preserve their space in the market. So that leads to
Hmm.
all these different sort of dynamics.
Yeah, no, and also in Europe, we're now starting to look, they're going to start looking into introducing the Euro digital coin. And it's going to be something similar to stable coins. I think that's also something we're going to
Oh
be
my gosh.
predicting.
Yeah, that's another thing that I actually wanted to talk about. It's not like explicitly AI or like exclusively AI, but the rise of frontier technology. So like crypto, had its boom and then it's been not latent, but like less of like a forefront in markets. But as of recently, Stripe has been talking about the rise of stable coins. JP Morgan just invested in different like crypto initiatives. Like we're seeing kind of the crypto becoming more normative in financial markets. And it'll be
Hmm.
interesting to see where that goes, especially like, Solana startups, Ethereum, Bitcoin, like all three of these companies, they're kind of producing innovations in line with AI. For example, like they're allowing like AI agents to trade within Solana instantaneously. Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how that progresses.
Exactly. Like crypto used to be like something you would really need to understand what it is, but because it's now becoming more mainstream accessible, and people are starting to understand how to actually buy a crypto coin, put it in your wallet, how to save that, make sure that it's secure. They
Mhm.
were also going to see a shift in that as well, like that is going to become a main source of payment.
Yeah, definitely. I was at an event recently with Stripe, and someone on the panel said that by the time this was around like October-ish,
Hmm.
but someone on the panel was saying that the next Black Friday, as in Black Friday 2026, we'll see people making like, purchases such as like a flat screen TV in crypto or in some form of blockchain payment.
No,
So
exactly. Especially
I
as
guess we'll
more
see
big
the
chain companies are
yeah,
also starting to adopt crypto as a form of currency that validates
yeah.
that it's worth something.
Yeah, that's the thing, 'cause it's a predictive market, and, like, kind of the value of crypto is driven with regards to, like, prediction, it's the same thing or speculative value there, speculative value and everything, which is similar enough to AI, but we're seeing, I guess, more integration, more innovation, and, yeah, I guess 2026, we will see where that goes, and we will review in 2027, this time next year,
Exactly.
which
We're
is
going to
crazy to think
see
about.
we're going to make a note of our predictions and see if we were right.
Yeah, maybe I'll specify my prediction a little bit more as, like, kind of like a concluding thing. Okay, I specifically predict that there will be a startup for agentic commerce that really takes, like, like, similar sort of, like that has, like, a similar kind of reaction to, I don't know, like, DeepSeek, like, similar sort of, like, popularity.
Mhm.
I predict now that agentic commerce startup will go viral and become kind of like an infrastructure, similar to the way that like Stripe it was, for like global payments. But that'll be like received the same way as like DeepSeek, where it like, raises all these questions and yeah, etc.
Yeah. So, okay, then I will also make it official just to close for us to close this episode. I will predict that we will see a rise in millionaires and billionaires this year because of vibe coding and
Yeah.
yeah, being able to make very cool MVPs and rolling them out. So we will see who is right by the end of next year.
Yeah, we'll evaluate. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching.
Yeah, I hope you had
And we
yeah, I hope this helped a lot. We're going to
yeah, and
see how it goes
we
with
hope that you have a
uploading the
great
episodes more. Yeah, please do like and subscribe. We, by the way, now also have a YouTube channel, so don't forget to subscribe to that one as well. Yeah, and if you have any questions, feel free to text us, put in a comments, and we hope to see you next time. Hey, bye bye.
Bye.
All right. Yeah.